running, driving, fully operable car that will have that paint scheme on it. So the biggest thing for us is maintaining some of those elements from the movie, right? And so it's you can't really tell from the picture behind you there, Randy, but the car in the movie was driven from the trunk because unfortunately Fozzie can't drive it himself. And so maintaining some of
What?
those, I know.
What?
um,
Hey everybody, welcome back to our Two Tired Guys production Zoom studios for a brand new Talking About Cars episode where everybody has a car story. My name is Randy Cardoon. That them there is Hot Rod Bob Beck. This episode, we turn the Wayback Machine to the year 1979. Moving right along, the year the Muppet movie came out, first effort by Jim Henson. I don't want to say it was the first movie he ever did, but I believe it was probably the second. Certainly the first one that used the Muppets from the TV show at the time, because the original Muppets TV show was like 1976. You may remember the great music from the show, Kermit singing the Rainbow Connection. Remember that? Hey, I was going to do a Kermit. Oh,
A top 40 hit.
should I do a terrible Kermit? Yeah, okay, never mind. I'll be editing that out. Anyway, Kermit the Frog singing Rainbow Connection. He later teamed with Fozzie Bear for Moving Right Along as the pair decided to make their way to Hollywood to get into show business from New York. By the way, from New York, this actually came from the movie. And as you'll see, now not everybody out there is going to recognize it, but Bob, you recognize it.
Yeah.
It looks like Camarillo and Oxnard.
Yeah, it looks like the area I live in because of all the farm and the mountains surrounding us.
Farmland out where you live.
Yeah.
So I remember when I used to drive out there to visit friends and family and all that stuff, we'd go through this all the time. And never did I see Fozzie Bear on the roadway with something like this. Never. So time to bring in our guests. And of course, we're going to be talking about the fact that the Studebaker Museum is taking not necessarily this car, because they made two of them, and we're not sure which is which, but it's going to look like that. And they're going to take it and restore it to, I believe, as good as the movie had it. So you saw this movie, didn't you, Bob?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have kids. We saw it. We watched it. And the one behind you, there. What we're going to find out is there's more than one Studebaker.
Right. And which is this? Is this Studebaker that they're doing, or is this the one that we don't know where it is, or if it could be?
Yeah. And stay with us to find out this information.
Our guests are from the Studebaker Museum in Indiana, curator Kyle Sater, and from Razorfly Studios, it's Mark Zorin in North Carolina. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Kyle Sater, and of course, Mark Zorin joining us on the podcast. It's an unusual topic today. As you can see, once again, behind me, the one, the only, 1951, Studebaker Commander, one of two vehicles used in the Muppet movie from 1979. The one, the only, Fozzie Bear drove it. They did a couple of songs in it. And I was a little surprised, guys, trying to figure out, I heard that there were two cars in the show, and one of them may or may not exist anymore. And the other one is, I'm assuming the one you guys have is the other one. That kind of makes sense, considering if it didn't exist anymore, you wouldn't have it. But talk a little about that, Kyle.
Yeah, so you're exactly right, Randy. There were two cars used in filming, one for sort of close-up shots and one for sort of longer distance filming. Obviously, you know, when you have the car farther away in the movie, it doesn't much matter if you can't see the Muppet driving. But that was a bigger bit of an issue when you're seeing the car close up, right? So. And so we don't know what happened to the other car, but the one car we do have obviously is part of our collection here at the museum, and is now safely in the hands of our friends at Razorfly Studios. So,
tell us a little bit about your museum, because a lot of people may not know your museum even exists.
Yeah, Bob, it's kind of a diamond in the rough. We are one of three accredited automobile museums in the country, along with Henry Ford and the Auburn Court Duesenberg Museum, also in Indiana. And so it's a wonderful collection. Studebaker was one of the larger vehicle makers in the country for a long, long time. From the mid 1900 or 1800s all the way through the early 1960s. And so we tell that story here all the way back from the horse-drawn era up into the end of the company here in the early 1960s. So we have a wonderful collection. We're here in South Bend, Indiana. So yeah, come see us anytime.
Mark, talk a little bit about your place. You have Razorfly, not restorations, but Razorfly Studios. Now, that's an interesting name for that. Is it because you guys do some sort of media with that, or is it also just a different way to name your restoration shop?
So we are a costume, prop, and movie car house. And so it is a studio in its rights of what we do. Since we have so many different things, it's not just a restoration shop, it's also a creation shop. And so we do quite a bit of all of those things. The last few years, we have focused almost entirely on automotive restorations and replications from film and TV.
What are some of the highlights that you've done? I mean, obviously we're talking about the Muppet car here, but 2 years of working on, a number of years working on cars. What are some of the ones that people need to know?
So most of the things that we've done have been restorations of actual cars that have then been replicated into film and TV. So one of our most notable builds was a replica from Back to the Future. We've done several of those for private collectors around the country and around the world. I've built a Bumblebee Camaro, the police car from Transformers. Those currently reside in a museum in Paris. Let's see, I've built a Bluesmobile 74 Dodge Monaco with True Police Interceptor. Built several vehicles from Jurassic Park, including two of the gas-powered Jeeps, the Jeep Wranglers, the Ford Explorer that has glass roof, the full custom interior, the touch screens. Let's see, I'm going around. We've built two Pacers from Wayne's World. One of them resides in my private collection. One is in a museum that's set to open here very soon up in New Jersey. We actually built for that guy a Gilligan's Island bamboo car. So if you remember Gilligan, they had that bamboo car in the Fort Knox episodes. We took an electric golf cart, stripped it all the way down to the frame, kept the motor, the steering, and then completely built the car out of actual bamboo. And so it is a real running, driving bamboo car. You don't need to pedal. And we chose the electric because the gas, you wouldn't hear it if they were pedaling. So I figured the electric made the most sense. So we did one of those. We've worked on several other cars, trying to go around the shop. Just last year finished a 1981 J10 Jeep build, which was Joe's Jeep from Twister, the yellow one at the beginning of the movie that gets flipped. So we've got that full frame off restoration. We did a 350 swap in that. It's got the full Dorothy with the lights and the sirens and everything in the back. So this would have been Helen Hunt's truck at the beginning of the movie. It gets flipped by the tornado. And then, as notable, before Fozzie's car, we acquired for our personal collection the Herkimer Battle Jitney from the movie Mystery Men. It came out in 1999. It's actually the 25th anniversary this year. It was built on a 1979 Ford semi cab over, and so it's the only one in existence, and we're currently restoring it for Comic-Cons and things like that.
Wow, very cool.
So
Kyle, let's start off with talk a little bit about the Studebaker. Tell me a little bit about how you guys came in possession of the car way back when, and why we're going ahead to doing the restoration now.
Yeah, no, Randy, that's a great question. And so it's kind of a long, winding road here. And so, as you guys can imagine, a lot of these cars, and they're treated as props in the movie, right? And sometimes the studios will hang on to them, sometimes not. So to the best of our understanding, this car kind of sat outside on the studio backlot for a long time, right? You can tell if you see images of the car, it doesn't look too dissimilar from the image behind you, Randy. It was all the paint was faded. It was pretty rusty. I mean, Mark's seen it. It was, it's seen better days. And so when we got it in that condition in about 2004, from a couple of, I think it was a father and son, who had acquired it from the studio, and then they donated it to us. And so it's lived here at the museum since that point. So about almost 20 years now. And so we still love to display it. A lot of people will come just to see that car. And so it's a great piece for us because a lot of people have memories of seeing the movie or just love the Muppets. I mean, they're still popular, right? So it's that great sort of pop culture connection for us. But we've really started to kind of think more seriously about the restoration the last couple of years. People ask us, hey, what are you going to do with the car? And we've done some kind of on and off fundraising over time, and so we just kind of hit the ground running the last year and a half, and so it kind of allowed us to get going on it. So really excited to have this kind of in motion. We'll miss the car while it's down in North Carolina, but we can't wait to see it when it gets back here.
So we looked at the video and it's showing two different Studebakers. The one Randy's got behind him, and then one that looks more like it was painted up as a hippie car. Which is the one that you have?
So the one behind Randy was the same car in the movie, but that was it was painted to blend in with a billboard, which is where it gets its psychedelic paint scheme from. So the car, as we have it, has remnants of that paint scheme, and so Mark's team will be returning it to that sort of psychedelic paint scheme that you see. So not exactly the same car behind Randy, but the later part in the movie. So.
Okay, so not necessarily the one with all the rust and all the other stuff on it. Okay, got it. Because we were wondering, when you say resto, how resto are you going? I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, we're going to put it to the original rust, which I didn't think was going to happen, or you're going to change it to what was actually, you're certainly not going to change it to showroom quality. So you're going with the psychedelic paint job, so to speak.
The biggest thing for us is maintaining some of those elements from the movie, right? And so it's you can't really tell from the picture behind you there, Randy, but the car in the movie was driven from the trunk because unfortunately Fozzie can't drive it himself. And so maintaining some of those, what? I know.
What?
I know.
Oh, man.
And that's why, if you look at the car behind you there, the bullet nose is missing, but they chose this model for placement of a camera in that bullet nose that allowed the driver then in the trunk to operate and drive the car that way.
Here's an interesting quote that came from the IMDb location for the website about the movie. The sequences where Fozzie, Kermit, Miss Piggy, and the gang cruise around in the old Studebaker seemed effortless, but were a logistical nightmare. Kermit and Piggy each required a puppeteer, while Fozzie required two. They all needed monitors, and none of them could appear in the shot. So 4 men, get this, try to visualize this. 4 men squeezed underneath the dashboard with their video monitors to accomplish the movie magic. But the engineering didn't stop there. They also had a little person in the back of the car steering and driving. They had a video camera, as you mentioned, in the nose of the car where you could see where he's going. So they say the back of the car, obviously, I assume the back seat.
Yeah, so you almost have to see it to believe it. But so yeah, in the movie, it looks like there is the back seat, right? But really, it's almost a false back seat because that mechanism, they had to modify the trunk to really fit that driver in there. Sort of reclining back, if you can imagine, with their feet up to be able to control, what they could control with the monitor back there. The story goes, originally they were just being fed in directions to drive the car, and then later they installed the monitor to make it a little easier to drive. But yeah, like you said, the puppeteers then controlling the puppets inside the car, so it was very challenging, I would imagine, to get that right. So
I keep thinking of a phone booth, suddenly, like, you remember the way our grandparents used to cram themselves into a phone booth as some wacky college stunt? Like on old TV shows like Dobie Gillis and all that other fun stuff. I think I just made myself really old. But anyway, yeah, so So that must have been an interesting thing. Does it have that much room up front to be able to squeeze 4 guys on the dash or underneath the dash?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it's hard to tell because like they remove the actual seat, right? And so the remnants
Oh,
we have, it looks like they were just kind of crouched under the dash there. But is that the impression you get, Mark? It's kind of hard to tell.
well, I do have. I was able to find some behind the scenes footage of Frank Oz and Jim Henson. I'm trying to think of the other gentleman that was back there. So when it's Fozzie and Kermit, it's usually the 3 guys up front. You'll notice the scenes that have Miss Piggy or Gonzo or anyone else, they're actually in the back seat, which was also modified for other people to be able to lay down. But 3 grown adult men were in the front cab of that car, and that's what they did to puppet them. So it is not an easy feat, to be sure.
It's a good thing they were friends.
yeah, if they weren't, they were after that. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. All right. So the little guy is in the back driving. Does that mean the
Yep.
steering and brake controls are in the trunk?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're going
It was
to
all rewired and rerouted to the back trunk for brakes, gas. I mean, steering, everything is back there.
and that's
So
going
the
to be
only
the rest of
modification that we've made in the 20 years is to reconnect the main steering column just so we could move it around, so and didn't have to put it up on go or whatever, you know.
So is the camera system going to be functional?
That is our goal, is to set it up where you can actually see into the trunk of what it was like for someone to sit back there and see what field of vision they had out of the bullet nose. Yes.
say we do have a lot of several vehicles in on loan, right? But the whole collection is well over 100 vehicles. And at any one time, most of those are on display here. Going all the way back to the 1830s, we have a Conestoga wagon here, going all the way up to the very last Studebaker produced in Canada in '66. And so it's quite a long period story to tell. But yeah, most of those vehicles are here. So yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
There's my Rockney.
Oh, there you go.
It was under restoration at the time. It never really got restored.
The
But,
man has his own Rockney, for heaven's sake. Seriously?
Yeah, I did. It was a
Seriously?
32 4-door. I loved the dashboard. It was really stylistic. Had a 6-cylinder flathead. The chassis was so stiff. There was a photograph that I've gotten one of my Studebaker books, and they took the front tire off, took the jack out, the car stayed. It didn't dip one side or another. That's how strong the chassis was on that machine, and it just stayed level. It was the weirdest thing. I changed that though because I'm a hot rodder, so it got some different stuff underneath. But yeah, it was a very unique car, and I really liked it. It just didn't have the wherewithal to finish it at the time. And Studebaker had a performance line, and they were the first ones to use the name Daytona, and they did it on a really nice performance Lark at the time, 4-speed, 289. They were also one of the first ones to put supercharging back into cars.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, these were high performing vehicles at the time. We don't, of course, we don't have a lot of room to kind of show the full line of some of those cars here at the museum, but based on that sort of Lark platform, they had a lot of success, I think, for a while in the late 50s, early 60s. And then you had the Avanti. And I mean, if the cards would have been dealt a little differently, who knows what would have happened, right? But we all know the story there, right? So,
yeah. There was a
Mark.
time with Packard there as Packard was going downhill.
You didn't really save either company, but it was a hard period for those independents, right? So Studebaker, you have Hudson Nash, all your other independent automakers trying to do something, right? So it's kind of hard to identify one single reason why these things didn't work out. It's a lot of things, right? But
I heard a rumor or read somewhere, and I don't remember where, but the reason the Packard became a modified Studebaker, basically, was that the Packard was too big to go down the Studebaker assembly line.
That's why you see a lot of sort of Packard badge Studebakers at that time, since they couldn't, they were phasing out Packard production. But that's a good question, Bob. I'd have to look into that one. Yeah.
I think Rambler / Nash and Hudson did something similar where they just kind of ran it through the combination chamber, and suddenly you had Hudsons that looked like Ramblers and Ramblers that looked like Hudsons, and they weren't the only ones I think that did that. Remember, Bob?
Yeah, a lot of companies were doing that, and the small independents, and the GM started doing the same thing. And or later on, the demise of Mercury, for example, they were rebadged Fords towards the end. They
Absolutely.
had no separate identity any longer, and that killed a lot of car companies. American Motors was probably one of the first ones to do that, but even GM in the 30s and 40s had shared componentry, shared body pieces, but they did something so that you really didn't notice it. In the case of Hudson and Rambler, it was a badge. It was badge engineering.
Mhm. By the way, if anybody, you guys have obviously seen the movie, the Muppet movie.
Oh yeah.
What movie?
The Muppet movie? What? Huh? Huh?
Huh? What are we talking about?
What
Yeah,
are we talking about here?
once or twice.
And I'm not, the good news is I'm not going to ask you to sing either Rainbow Connection or Moving Right Along, but although
It has
actually,
been on my playlist the last few weeks. Not only we watched the movie multiple times the last few weeks, I've had the playlist. It's one of the things I do when I'm restoring a car is I'm typically playing the movie or the music with the restoration. And so partly because you could only listen to the theme song from Back to the Future so many times, or Johnny Be Good so many times, or Rainbow Connection so many times before it becomes ingrained in your head. It's also
right.
kind of like a little timer of, hey, let's get this done. So keeps me on task.
Absolutely.
I'm going to play the song again. There's your chance.
Yeah, but do you find yourself humming it? Dun, 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 dun. By the way, we can't do anything like that. I'm not going to make them sing because they'll probably hit us with some sort of licensing fee. But anyway, yeah.
Well, and we don't want to torture the people, watching this. They don't need to hear me sing. That's not what I'm here for.
Although you got to say the video or the car drives by the fork in the road and makes a left. I thought that was high intensity video. Didn't
It's
expect
some highbrow comedy right there. Yeah,
I'm telling you, absolutely
bear,
true.
bear left, frog right.
So you're really doing a really intensive restoration. You're not just doing a cosmetic upgrade or restore.
Correct. Yep. So any of the vehicles that come through our shop, one of the first things that we do is verify not only structural integrity but mechanical integrity. We've made it a policy since day one that all of our vehicles are safe to drive, whether you're going to or not. We want you to be able to throw gas and oil in it and drive it down the road, because that's what a car is for. And I do understand that cars museums are to show them, but like Kyle came to us, he's like, well, we want to be able to show it, but we also want to show it outside of the museum. What can we do to make that happen? And so our goal is to make it safe for anyone to get in that car and drive it down the road, take it to a show and put it in a parade and take it back, but also look good on the showroom floor, if you will. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a cosmetic, but also mechanical.
Kyle, what was your first car?
My first car, I don't know if this will age me or not. Was a it was my dad's car.
Younger than we are. Okay.
Yeah, it was a 1990 Chevy Lumina was my first car. So, your run of the mill Chevy sedan, but it was fine. So,
Well, they raced two-door versions of that, didn't they? Basically, come on.
So yeah, in high school, I had a '93 Chevy Caprice, which was a good car for a kid, and you see them out there sometimes.
Absolutely, Mark. What was your first car?
My first car was a 1993 Mercury Sable in gold exterior and tan interior. And I will tell you what, it was the safest car I'd ever driven. I actually got hit by a car and spun out in front of two semis, hit the guardrail, and all it did was crinkle in the door and walked away from it. So it had everything too: sunroof, leather seats. It was good, and that was it was a sad day that I lost that thing because it was my first car, and I treated that thing like a baby.
What's in your garage now?
I've got like 15 cars. So most of them are movie cars at this point. But my everyday truck, I've got a 2500 Dodge Ram that I use for most of my travels at this point.
What's your favorite of the cars in the garage?
And everybody asks me that question, and it is such a hard one to answer. But I will tell you, it depends on mood. I absolutely love taking the top off the Jurassic Park Jeep and driving it through because we're in Asheville, so we've got the beautiful Parkway. I love the DeLorean. I'll tell you what, it is so much fun to just pop open the doors, listening to some 80s music, driving around downtown. People just love it. But I'll tell you, sometimes I just like jumping in the 74 Monaco and just it's fast, it's fun, it's big. Listen to Blues Brothers music. I mean, I'm from Chicago, so Joliet specifically. So I mean, I was born and raised 20 minutes from the prison, so it's like that's home to me. So it just depends, man.
The guy from Garage Squad lives in Joliet, as a matter of fact. You know. I mean,
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, they let him out on
goes
weekends.
over. Yeah, they let him out to drive the cars.
If you're wanting to make a donation to contribute toward this effort, there is the restoration, but there's also kind of long term. When we get the car back, we want to give it a place of honor, I guess, here at the museum, and so thinking long term. But they can do that on our website. So it's www.studebakermuseum.org. You'll find there's a link to donate to the museum and to this project. If you come by, there's also an opportunity to donate on site as well. And we can share those out, Randy, however you want to do it. But yeah, please support the project. If you love the Muppets, love movies, this is a really wonderful collaboration.
If someone wants to go to the museum just to see all of the other vehicles you have on display, what are the hours and where is it located?
Yep. So we are in the Washington, sort of historic Washington Street neighborhood, the west side of South Bend, Indiana. We're open 10 to 5 Monday through Saturday and noon to 5 on Sunday. So
yeah, there is quite a history when you talk about the old time cars here in America, and obviously Studebaker was around for a really long time, even though they kind of disappeared in the late 60s. They were a company that was here in the States for many, many years. And as Kyle mentioned, they had horse-drawn carriages they used to make back in the day. So anyway, if you're out there in that area, check it out. And guys, don't forget, everybody, follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next week, right there, that's Kyle in Indiana, South Bend. Mark is in Asheville, North Carolina. Bob's in California. I'm Randy at our Two Tired Guys studios here in Washington State, having fun, talking about cars. All right, until then, until our next episode, everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.